The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to No Ifs, Ands, or Buts. It is Matt Butts. That's what we call the show. No Ifs, Ands, or Buts. He is a divorce attorney. What other stuff do you do besides, I know you do gal item stuff. What other stuff do you do besides, do typically divorce attorneys just do divorces, or is it domestic stuff, child custody? What do you do?
I do some child custody. Mostly I stay in domestic relations court and just anything that happens there. I'm also a public defender in Mountain Brook and Cordova.
Okay.
So I do some city court criminal defense work as well. Not quite as much of it in the private sector. I mainly just do the public defense stuff.
There you go. mbutslaw.net. mbutts, that's B-U-T-T-S, law.net, or 948-4958. 948-4958. We'll give that out during the show several times so you can join. And of course, this show runs on Tony Kurre Radio, and it runs wherever you get your favorite podcast, and also, of course, on our YouTube channel. It runs live, so it's good stuff. We got lots of email questions. I knew this show was going to take off. Info TonyKurreRadio.net, because a lot of people always have questions for Ask the Lawyers, so because they're going to get some free stuff. So we're going to go through some email stuff today. Tom in Northport wants to know, how often in a divorce proceeding are there depositions? Good question. I can only speak for you. Got a smirk on your face. I can only speak for myself. You have the discovery process. You go through all this stuff, and then I can remember saying, I'm not doing a deposition. I'm not doing it. And of course, there I was doing a deposition. They're not fun. I spoke way too much. I answered the questions too thoroughly. But talk about, why would you have a deposition? When are they useful? How often do they happen?
All right, so I try to avoid depositions as much as possible if I can, unless the case is getting really, really litigated and headed for trial. If we're trying to settle something here and we're making progress, there's no need in doing that, because all you're going to do is pay a whole lot of money just to get some answers that may be worth it, may not be worth it. But what you're doing is you're making the case more litigated. I mean, you're throwing fuel on the fire when you do that. Yep. And sometimes you got to throw some fuel on the fire. Sometimes you got to, but not always. Depositions, it's rare that we do them unless that's happening. It's just a lot of time and energy. But I will tell you, in a deposition, there are very few rules as well. There's only two objections that an attorney can lodge, and that's objection to attorney-client privilege and object to form. So,
what's the second one? What is that?
Object to the form of the question.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I had one time where an attorney said, "Well, when you set that fire in the house," wait, object to form. That's a terribly leading question, making it sound like, but they get ugly and they go for a long time. But if you've got to do them, you got to do them hard. So it's not going to be fun. I would say that if you can come to some place of reason and settle this case, it's going to be a lot better than doing depositions. But if depositions are needed,
I will tell you this: if things are going pretty well, and you can do it without it, I just speaking from experience, but it will piss you off. It'll make you hate that. Yeah. You'll hate your ex a lot more after depositions, because there are no objections. The lawyer can do and say whatever he wants, or he or she, because there's no judge there to call him out. And so they're going to be asking stuff, and they pepper you with like really shitty stuff. I got called names and everything else. I'm like, whoa, hey, I'm sitting here, but I just went in there happy go lucky, and of course my attorney was like, you're talking too much. Stop answering every question. You're offering answers. And I was like, I'm sorry. This is what I do. She's like, stop offering answers when they don't ask you questions. I was like, I'm sorry. Yeah. If you can't. But I knew, and I was told that once, when someone asks for a deposition, they're taking it to another level. And so if you think,
I can agree with that.
If you think that things are going to go well, and you think, hey, maybe we can get through this without going to trial, and then all of a sudden someone's throwing a deposition at you. Well, let me ask you this: how often does the attorney get too involved? And what I mean by that is I've seen some cases where you even said, where you had a man and a woman, and they actually reconciled there on the bench. And as an attorney, a good attorney with some morals, you would hope that they would figure things out, and so you wouldn't have to, and you'd save some money. But I mean, I could also imagine some attorneys like to go after it. I mean, get after it, and say, let's go. Not only to make more money, and I hate to say that, but it's real. But occasionally I would think that some people would go, "Hey, listen, I really don't want to do this." But the attorney's like, "Well, I really think this is best for your case." So how does that work?
Well, so we are called to be fierce advocates for our clients, and that doesn't always look like throwing stones. Sometimes that looks like competence and knowing when to speak, when not to speak. But every attorney's different. Some attorneys may file notices of deposition just as a matter of course, because I mean they've got their reasons for doing that. They've been doing this a long time, and I mean they just do it.
Yeah.
Others just don't, but it really depends on the attorney. You're right. Some attorneys are going to say, "Yep, got to do it," and then other attorneys are going to say, "Well, maybe we can avoid it." You're right, because being an attorney, what I found is it puts such a spotlight on who you actually are. Like it really, really does. Stuff comes out, so you want to make sure you wash the inside of the cup before trying to make the outside shiny.
Yeah.
Because it's coming out.
Yeah, there you go. Debbie, also in Northport, she wants to know, typically, how does the ownership of pets go in a divorce? People bring pets into divorce. They get pets while they're married. Sometimes it may be the husband's dog. He may have been the one that went out and got it. It's a hunting dog, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I've seen people fight over pets, and quite frankly, one didn't even care where the dog went, but they were sort of fighting for it just because they knew it was going to hurt the other. And I'm sure you've seen that too. How do pets typically work in a divorce?
Well, even though we love them very, very much, we've got a miniature dachshund that we really, really love. In the state of Alabama, pets are considered property. So, if we're talking about pet custody, that's really a misnomer. It's a dispute about property. Now, having been a judicial assistant, I've seen some trials that have centered only on pet custody and how we're going to do this, and first right of refusal for the animal if you can't be with the animal for more than 5 hours. I've seen it get that intense, and people pay attorneys that much to go fight over that. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, love our Gracie, but that's a bit much. I've also seen some just crazy situations where an animal was traded for a big, big piece of property worth, a whole lot of money, but they're like, "That's my baby," and take the house.
Wow,
So,
really?
yeah. I've seen some crazy stuff there. What I would say is, as any other piece of property, that if you both love the dog very much, figure something out there. Because if say you've got no children, you've got one dog, and you love this dog. However, do you want to be tied to your ex for the next 10 years on custody exchanges of the dog?
Yeah.
I mean, some courts do it, man.
So you have visitation. You have visitation for animals?
I mean, it's hard to call it that because, again, it is property. But yes, de facto, I've seen that happen as well.
So they go back and forth. So typically, if you bring a dog into the marriage, typically it's yours. How's that work?
I mean, generally speaking, from what I see, yes, lots of times, but that's not set in stone. Again, it is certainly marital property, and especially if it lived at the home.
Yeah.
So you got to figure that out. It's the right thing to do if you brought a dog into the marriage to take the dog, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah. To kind of go along with that, Cynthia in Birmingham wants to know, does she get to keep her 401k and her divorce, her retirement stuff that she brought into the marriage? Yeah, go ahead. That's a sticky one for a lot of people, and I think it depends. I know in my particular case, my ex got to keep her stuff. I was fine with that. I was whatever, but she also got some of mine as well. And again, that's how it works out. But I think a lot of people thought, well, I had $120,000 in my 401k when we got married, and it's still there. Why should she get any of it, or why should he get any of it? How's that work?
Well, you can agree to anything. And you can offset certain marital property by saying you keep your 401k, I'm going to take this type thing. That happens all the time. However, under the law, what is going to be considered marital property is what has accrued since the date of the marriage, right? So if you've accrued a whole lot of it before the marriage, generally that's going to be considered separate. But once you got married, whatever you accrued is going to be marital property indivisible. Now, it's always easier to say, okay, I'm going to offset this with something else, because the way you divide that is a post-divorce thing. You put in a motion for a QDRO, a qualified domestic relations order. And there's a lot to that process, because you're working with plan administrators, because what they're going to do, they're not just going to hand out a lump sum of money.
Yeah.
They're going to mirror the account or transfer that money into another account.
So when you see these court cases where people marry into celebrity, they marry a rock star or whatever, they've normally got all that stuff themselves before they married you. And then typically, and I don't know how these things work out. I have not seen, typically how a thing like that works out, but I know the person who's divorced that person usually walks away with a nice little tidy sum. They're just paying them off, or how's it? But typically, if Billy Joel would get a divorce, he would get to keep his own shit, right?
Well, I mean, if there was a good prenup, yes.
Well, now that's the question. So you're talking about two things here. I didn't talk about prenups now. Now, obviously, if I go and say I've got $800,000 in my 401k, I don't, but say I had that, and I'm getting married, and for some reason I think prenups are ridiculous, but so be it. Some people, and I get a prenup, and she agrees that's one thing. But say I don't have a prenup, and then we get a divorce 3 or 4 years later, and say it's worth $1.2 million, and I'm like, okay, well, I had 800,000 when I got here. Would that be mine typically, or no?
If you accrued it before the marriage, typically that's what would happen. Yeah. But again, whatever you accrued over and above after the date of the marriage would be divisible.
All right. Great questions. 948-4958, 4958, mbutslaw.net, mbutslaw.net. That's BUTTS. Let's get into some kid stuff here. At what age, this is from Seth down South Side, at what age should kids really know what's going on? That is so of a broad question and so of a general question. And all kids are at different ages, but that is a great question. At what age? Because typically you don't want the kids to get in the middle of anything. You try not to, but they're going to. They're going to get in the middle one way or another, because you have them with them. You're going to hear things you ain't supposed to hear. You're going to see things you probably shouldn't see. But at what age typically can or should you sit down and say, listen, you're 15, you need to know what's going on here?
Okay, not at 15.
Okay.
And at no time before they turn 19 should you sit down and overtly say, this is what's going on in this case.
Anytime before 19.
I would say that. I mean,
well, okay.
You might hear it differently from someone else, but my experience has been that the court really, really expects you to shield your children from your own stuff going on in the marriage or in the divorce. They want the ultimate shield to be made there, and they really, really want the parents to get along and have harmonious relations for the benefit of the children. Even if you hate each other, you love your kids more. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work for whatever reason. But yet you really shouldn't be talking about the case, and certainly not disparaging your ex in front of the kids.
Well, I will say this: kids are smart.
Oh, they are.
Kids are really
they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, they're so resilient. I mean, it's amazing. You see 3 and 4 year olds emulate the things you do, and you're like, how they know? But just imagine what they're thinking when they're 12, 13. So they hear things. I used to always tell my kids feel things. They don't necessarily have to hear things. They don't necessarily have to see things, but they feel things. They're really good at feeling the mood. They're feeling the room. They're feeling the tempers. Mm-hmm. They're feeling the emotions. And that's really, really important. And that's, I've always, you do the best you can, but I've always told my kids, I'm going to love them. I'm going to shield them, and I'm going to make them feel protected. And I'm going to love on them. And that's all I'm going to do. And they need to know that there's absolutely no issues, that if there's anything money or anything, it's not for them to decide, and I will always figure it out. And they need to know that they're always safe, sound, and protected when they're over here. Now, over there, I can't tell you what's going on. I don't know. I have a clue, and I don't care. But I want them to come over here, and I want them to feel comfortable and protected and know that everything's going to be good. And I just try to keep a real positive attitude. I don't know how else to put it. It's not to say I don't cry and do those things, but I just try to stay as positive as I can in front of my kids. I pray for my ex every single time we have dinner. Whenever we have a meal, I pray for her. When we go to church, we pray for her. And I think it's important for kids to see that. I really do.
No, I agree 100%. And like you said, kids are smart. You're not going to be held accountable for them having eyes and ears and a brain.
Yeah.
But just take no overt action. Let them figure it out themselves.
Okay, what about this is my question. What about testifying then? Because I know in my situation, my son was, I guess, let's see, this was 6 years ago, so he was 15 or 16, and he wanted to testify. And I said, man, I don't really feel comfortable. I said, I got this. And he's like, no, I want to talk in front of the judge. And there was a lot going on. And I said, that made me feel good that he wanted to testify on my behalf, by that time it'd gotten really ugly. And I thought, you know what, man, if you want to testify for your old man, I should go for it. Now he said some things that killed me. I found out he said a couple of things that actually hurt me. So be careful, because he's like, what do I say? I said, just tell the truth. That's all I said. Tell the truth. If they ask me about me and my drug issue, tell the truth. Just tell the truth. You don't have to worry about anything. I said it will fix itself. Tell the truth. Don't try telling stories. And I said, if you do that, we're going to be fine. And it turned out fine. But man, I to me that was like when he became a man. He's down in the car hiding behind the steering wheel because he sees his mom getting out of one car and he doesn't want her to see, because she didn't know that he was testifying. And so that was fun. But yeah, I would say at any extent, try the best not to get your kids involved in anything. But if they want to testify, how do you deal with that?
Well, again, you nailed it. If I can keep a kid out of a courthouse, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Every single time. There are certain instances where it's going to be necessary. If this case is going to try, they have to be there. But when they are there, what I like to do is file a motion or make an oral motion for in-camera testimony, so that they are not in open court having to look at either one of their parents. I like for them,
and they do usually take the parents out, by the way. So
yeah, or have the parents removed. That's fine too. And then let the judge ask most of the questions, if not all the questions.
Yeah.
Because judges know what they're doing. And it's just a very, very, very stressful thing. And the sad part of it is that when a child's testimony is necessary, it's usually pretty bad.
Yeah.
But if they want to testify, I get it. And he's 15, and I'm sure he's a very, very bright boy, and he just wanted to help his dad. But I would say, as much as you can, just put up the boundaries of saying, let the adults handle this.
Yeah.
Let the adults handle it. Now, if it's absolutely necessary, let it go.
Yeah.
But just shielding them, so that so many times people grow up, and the thing that scars them for the longest is a divorce. And you can't do a lot about some of that, but you can do some things. And that's why it's just so important to shield them, because they are the truly innocent parties in every bit of this.
Yep.
Every bit of this.
Yep. And that needs to be assured to them every single day. Don't even bring it up, because if you bring it up, they're going to think you're actually thinking that. Don't say, you had nothing to do with this. Don't do that. But if they're going to bring it up, because for some reason children always think they have something into play, and they don't. They have absolutely nothing to do with it. And if anything, it just kills me that I had to put my children through that crap, and still putting it through them. I'm just like, let it go. Let's move on, and let's start living our lives. And it just sucks. Divorce sucks. It really does. So the guardian ad litem, which is something that I know people use. Explain to me what that is and how relevant is that? How often do you need that? That is basically a lawyer for the children. Now you're thinking to yourself, wow, I already got a lawyer I got to pay for. Now I'm getting a lawyer for my children. Why would you do that? How beneficial is that? And why would you end up getting a gal?
I was actually, I attended one today where I was the guardian ad litem. I do some guardian ad litem work in Jefferson County. So there's different scenarios. One, obviously, if a child is got some type of disease rendering them incompetent for court or other things, it may be a good idea to have a guardian ad litem come in, because especially if these children are nonverbal and they can't speak for themselves, they need an advocate who is just their attorney. Yes, parents are going to pay for it. Kids don't pay for it. But who's going to really, really represent their interests. Also, they're in times of abuse and time, because again, as a guardian ad litem too, I'm trying so hard to make everything work without these kids ever having to come to the courthouse because I'm not calling kids every week. They're the only ones who get my cell phone number.
Yeah.
But because I don't think that court interference in a child's life is necessarily the most helpful thing in a child's life. So, but you talk to them enough and you figure out kind of not just what they want, but what they need, their best interests. And you try to read between the lines lots of times. But yeah, it's very, very important work because lots of times mom's saying this, dad's saying this, and the children don't necessarily get to decide where they live.
Yeah.
But if something's going on bad enough to where they need some representation, then certainly they need to be heard in court.
Yeah. Again, I cannot stress this enough. And it's only because I've gone through it. I'm just telling you, it is so important that your children see how much you still care for and appreciate and pray for your ex. I don't even know how this. I mean, my kids know what's going on. They know what's happened. They know the salvos that have been shot across the bows from both sides. But it is so important to say, listen, if I don't forgive, I can't be forgiven. And, I want to go to heaven. I know that it's going to be something, and it's something that you have to work at, but, they do not, because if you're sitting there throwing things out, about the other parent, the kids know. They already know. They see them every other week. They know what the truth is. They know what's going on. So they're going to know whether you're pulling the wool. And if you're doing that, then you're just going to look like a schmuck. So if you're trying to figure that out, and again, children are going to love you either way, so it doesn't really matter. But great stuff, man. 948-4958, 948-4958, mbutslaw.net, mbutslaw.net. Great new show we started about 3 or 4 weeks ago. You can find it on every major industry. We're out there. This is what we do, podcast on Tony Kurre Radio. We've got 19 of these shows, and they're everywhere. You can find them everywhere. Steve in Birmingham wants to know when and how can I use some type of snooping device, GPS device on my ex. Don't really thinking, he wrote this long email, don't believe she's cheating on me, but if she was cheating on me, it would certainly help my case. Do I think I have a reason? Sure. And then maybe I could even get some information that I didn't even think was happening. How often has that happened? I've kind of been down that road too. But you're talking about that a little bit. I would think a lot of times, particularly if you're in a case where you think someone's cheating on you, the first thing you want to do is go hire a spy.
Yes. I'm going to tell you that putting a tracking device on your partner's vehicle can really, really, really backfire on you, especially in the state of Alabama. That's been addressed by the Court of Civil Appeals is not good. You don't need to be doing that.
And why is that?
I mean, it's I don't remember the case, but it's kind of a form of stalking because imagine this. Imagine if you do all that tracking device and all this stuff and she's not doing anything at all, then you look like the crazy one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to backfire. So if you want some type of surveillance done, you need to let the professionals do it. You need to call Corey Fuller at Spy for Rent.
Yep.
And
that way you're kind of that way you're third wheel. You can still hire them. You're going to be crazy from
they're
that
licensed to do this stuff.
Yeah, but and they can do it very discreetly. If there's nothing out there, then no one needs to know it ever happened. Right. If there is something and they find something, then certainly that's something you can use. But yeah, I mean, I sometimes I think you need to be careful what you're looking for. I don't. Again, when you're talking about a divorce, you go from this ultimate trust in an individual for years, and all of a sudden you don't trust anything they do. And so just be careful, because I think some people just want to find out what the hell's going on from top to bottom, and you might be really surprised what you find.
That's right. And it can be done, but you don't need to be doing it yourself. You need to let the professionals do it.
Is that, if you were to put some type of a device on a car, is that something where it would have to be owned by the person doing it? If it's owned jointly, does that mean something? If it's her car, are you doing something illegally then? Is that like putting a camera in the bedroom?
I mean, if you put a tracker on your own car, that's probably fine. But if it's a car that she generally drove throughout the marriage, no matter whose name is on the car, you don't need to be putting trackers on it.
Yeah. All right. Another Steve here in Birmingham. Kind of a funny question to take us out. What is the strangest thing you've seen two people actually go to court over? You talked about animals.
We're circling right back to that. The animals. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Again, I know people love their pets. I love my pet.
Have you ever had a vase or something? Maybe something that was bought that was. I mean, obviously, it's got some value to it, or maybe just has some sentimental value that they're just not going to give it up.
By the time you get to court, if you are arguing about a vase, what I have seen some judges do, and I think this is really wise, they'll say, look, this is your personal property. I can hear a trial about it. Mm-hmm. But here's what we're going to do. You're going to take turns picking things out of the house. You start first. And you pick something, Man, just figure that stuff out. Give and take. I mean,
when I went in, I let it all go. She wrote up, she wanted everything, including my Christmas lights. I put Christmas lights up every year. I'm like, really? You want my Christmas lights? I mean, is that what we're doing here? And I said, and I think the judge appreciated that. She's like, you're going to I said, yeah, everything, furniture, whatever. I'll start all over again. I don't care, but I'm not going to nitpick. I'm not going to sit here and decide who gets a lamp and who doesn't get a picture. Or
How much are you going to pay an attorney to fight for a vase? How much is that vase worth?
And you know what happened? She ended up leaving the house and leaving everything in it. She went and bought her own stuff, and I was like, "Thanks," because she bought her own bed. She did everything, and I tried to help her out with that stuff. I said, "If you're going to go buy a bed, I'll help you buy a bed because you take whatever you want." But she also had to pay the movers to move everything out of the house. And I said, "And we have lived in furniture. Our stuff was lived in, and for the most part, you realize, you know what? I really don't want to have that recliner that my husband's been sitting his big fat ass in the last 20 years. Why would I want that recliner?" Well, why would I want something that looks like him, smells like him, feels like him? Why would I want that? Get rid of that. All right. Final question. This comes from me. What is your, Matt Butts, what is your favorite divorce movie?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, you don't have to answer that now. You can answer it next week if you like. For some reason, whenever I think about this show, I think of War of the Roses. If you've never seen it, it's a great movie. It's just those. I
haven't, but I will.
Oh, you never seen War of the Roses?
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's like a disc jockey not seeing Play Misty for me. You got to see that. Oh, you got to see that. You got to see that movie. You've got to see that movie.
I'll watch that. I will say, and I'm considering this a divorce movie, but I've got to. Wedding Crashers is probably my favorite comedy, but they are divorce mediators. But Intolerable Cruelty was pretty good too. And a fellow attorney, Sarah Sinesak, told me about that movie, and I watched it, and it is hilarious. I mean, it's so over the top because we can be that way sometimes.
Yep.
But it's so funny. It's got George Clooney and God, is it Catherine Zeta-Jones? Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Irreconcilable Differences. Seen it?
No.
That's another movie. I believe that's the one where the child actually. Is that the one where the child actually wants to divorce her parents? She gets a lawyer and she actually wants to divorce her parents. I think that may have been. I think Irreconcilable Differences. I think that's got Sharon Stone in it. It was her first movie role. I remember because she had hairy armpits. I couldn't believe she had hairy armpits.
Also, honorable mention: Liar, Liar.
Liar.
Oh, that's
Kramer versus Kramer.
Blue.
Kramer versus Kramer.
I need to watch more divorce movies.
Oh my gosh, really?
I think I need to watch more divorce movies.
I'll give you one line to remember. Do you like fried chicken?
Do you like fried chicken?
When you hear that line in the movie, you'll know exactly why I asked you that question. Do you like fried chicken? And then the other one, which for me is just killer. It's funny, but if you've ever been through a divorce with someone that's just mean sometimes, Mrs. Doubtfire is a killer.
Oh, I didn't even think of
it's
Mrs.
a great movie.
You know what? That may move to number one. Yeah, that moves to number one.
Hello! It's a great movie, but man, I mean, and you know what's so cool about that movie is when Robin Williams loves his kids more than anything in the world, and he goes to Sally Field and he goes, "Why did you do this?" And she point blank says, "I was angry with you." Like she did some things with the court that she knew wasn't fair, but she did it because she was pissed. And she's like, "You pissed me off. I was mad." And she got her way because and she fought and fought and fought. And it's just all about a guy trying to get custody of his kids back. And it's a beautiful movie. It's a great movie to make you feel good. But yeah, that was a great movie.
Oh man, we love that movie at our house.
Yeah,
It's a
good
great
stuff.
movie.
All right, tell people how they can find you, my friend.
All right, you can. I've got a Facebook. It's T Matthew Butts PC. I'm at mbutslaw.net. You can call me at Carter. Call my office at 205-948-4958, and you can also stalk my Instagram if you'd like at Matt Butts.
And keep those emails coming. info@TonyCurryRadio.net. info@TonyCurryRadio.net. You got any questions? We'll answer them for free right here with Matt Butts. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you. Happy Holy Week to you, man. Enjoy your Easter. I'll catch up with you next week.
You do the same. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, brother.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.